that rain is on its way. That means he won't have to water his garden. It's just another typical day for Joe Average. Not quite. There's nothing average or mundane about Joe or what he's done that morning. He's actually a miracle machine that no man-made mechanism could even begin to imitate. Recently, brilliant Japanese scientists created an amazing robot. It was amazing because it looked so human and could even move somewhat like a human. There were a few obvious differences from Homo sapiens, though. It wasn't alive, and it couldn't think, see, hear, touch, taste, or smell. Despite this, it was a marvel of human technology, the very best we can do at this moment in history. There were a few other things the robot couldn't do. It couldn't run, walk, or even stand on its own 2 feet. Scientists had to hold it upright because they didn't know how to create feet that balance an upright body of that size, let alone walk and run. Human feet are far too complex in design to imitate. With 26 bones, 33 joints, more than 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and a network of blood vessels, nerves, skin, and soft tissue, the foot and ankle components work together to provide the body with support, balance, and mobility. However, Joe had no problem standing upright and walking because his extraordinary feet were designed and created by God. The run-of-the-mill piece of toast he made wasn't ordinary either. The bread was ground from wheat, which grew in the soil. God created soil containing nutrients that fed the wheat kernel so it could mature into the wheat plant, which then produced more wheat kernels. When the kernels were harvested, they were ground into flour and mixed with yeast to make bread, so that Joe could have something to eat to satisfy his God-given appetite, giving him nutritional energy for the day. The butter that he spread on the toast came from milk that came from a cow that chewed grass that came from soil nutrients that God created. The honey he enjoyed was produced by an insect that God created to collect nectar from flowers that grew from the soil that he had made. As Joe gazed at his garden and inhaled deeply, he breathed in life-giving oxygen that had been released by trees that God had made. He then breathed out carbon dioxide, giving the trees what they depend on for their survival. The milk Joe drank helped him satisfy the recurring thirst God had created within him, causing him to want to drink to keep his body properly hydrated. The refreshing liquid came from the cow that chewed the grass that came from the soil that God had made. Joe looked at his yard using his amazing God-given eyes with their millions of light-sensitive cells and incredible self-focusing muscles which sent the images to his brain. There they were interpreted, enabling him to see his garden filled with colorful flowers waiting for the bees to come and get nectar to make honey for his toast. With his astoundingly made ears, he listened to a variety of chirping birds as they welcomed a new day and sung praises to Him who created all things. It began to rain, and as the drops fell through the atmosphere, the sunlight shining through the transparent liquid splayed out into the 7 colors of the rainbow. The sun's rays are traveling at 186,000 miles per second in a perfectly straight line, until they are refracted into myriad directions by that tiny, fast-moving water drop. When the little water drop hits the ocean surface, it sends out tiny waves in a perfect circle as its energy is absorbed into the vast ocean. The water surface looks flat to Joe's unaided eye, but over the horizon, the seemingly flat ocean curves to his left and right, as well as in front of him, and on the other side of the earth, it turns upside down. Yet it doesn't spill into space because of the same law of gravity God created that pulled the drop from the great cloud to water Mr. Average's garden. This is all happening as Joe stands on this huge ball of dirt we call Earth, which is spinning around as well as moving through space at 67,000 miles per hour. As the Bible so rightly observes of the wonders of God's creation, in Acts chapter 14, verse 17, it says, "He did not leave himself without witness, in that he did good, gave us rain from heaven and fruitful seasons, filling our hearts with food and gladness." Yet despite this evidence, Joe can't think of a single thing that God has ever done for him. Do you believe there's a God who made all these things? If not, then you create a cow that can chew green grass and make